How do you do? My name's Blue and welcome to my channel, Blue Reviews. Today I'm going to be counting down from 10 to 1 my top books of 2021. Now these books are not new releases this year, they're just books that I've read this year. I'm also breaking the rules in that I'm including entire trilogies or series as one book on this list. But it's my list, my rules, and that way I can fit more in. Without further ado, let's get into it. So number 10 on this list goes to the series Renegades by Marrissa and Myer. This series is a young adult fantasy, which I read all three this year. It makes my list because I found all the books really gripping and I found it refreshing. It brought something new to the genre that I hadn't read before. The book follows two different characters who are on opposing sides and have different beliefs, and it makes you really understand each character and where they're coming from. This book is set in a world similar to ours, except for people can develop superpowers. Number 9 on my list goes to another fantasy trilogy I read this year, and this is the Farcia Trilogy by Robbin Hobb. This trilogy follows our main character Fitz, who is a bastard, and we follow him through all his trials. I enjoyed this, though I found it hard to read at points as poor Fitz is really put through the ringer. And that's the reason why this one isn't higher on my list, but I've recently picked up the next book by Robbin Hobb, The Ship of Magic, and I super love that one. But anyway, this series, the Farcia Trilogy, is where you should start if you're interested in reading Robbin Hobb. Number 8 goes to Wild by Cheryl Stray. I'm a little bit late to the party on this one. I know everyone's probably already knows about it, but I read it this year and I really enjoyed it. In case you don't know about it, it's a true story about a 22-year-old woman whose life has started to fall apart and she decides to go on a hike of more than 1,000 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is in America, and it follows her journey. I love this book and that's why it's on the list. It's very gripping, it's very real, and I know it sounds a bit boring being in someone's head as they walk, but believe me, it's not. There's also a movie made out on this based on this book by Reese Witherspoon. I'm yet to watch it, but I do plan to. Number 7 on this list was a shock to me, but it made my list as I just really loved it. It is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. And from the title you can probably guess this is a Cinderella retelling, but it's set around a Comic-Con like setting. The book was funny, it's really endearing, it was wonderfully light-hearted read, which is probably what I needed right at the time I picked it up, which is why it's so high in my list. Number 6 on this list goes to another series. It is the Keeper of the Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger, and I've read books 1 to 4. It is a middle grade series, and I believe there are a lot more books in this series, maybe as many as 10. But it follows a young girl called Sophie as she's thrust into a new world, and there's lots of mysteries which we're continually trying to work out. I really enjoy these books. They're just the right mix of fantasy and intrigue with a bit of fun. Number 5 is another book which I'm probably late to the party on, which is also a movie, which is The Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This book made my list because it really made me feel. It's a short book, but it's very moving. It follows a young boy as he deals with grief, and it brings in fantasy aspects to help explain what he's going through. It's very moving and very touching. Number 4 spot goes to Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I didn't enjoy this one as much as The Six Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, also by the same author, but I still really enjoyed the storytelling device of hearing from each character's perspective through interviews and whatnot. It's a really great book. I flew through it, and if you enjoyed her other books, I really recommend this one. Number 3 on the list, needs no real introduction. It's Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, which is the third in his series, which has a planned 10 books. At the moment, I'm going to pause here. Book 4 is out, but I'm going to wait till book 5 is nearly out so I can start from 1 and reread all the way up to 3, then read 4 and 5. I don't need to say much more. Amazing series, amazing characters, amazing world building. You'd expect nothing less from Brandon Sanderson. Alright, now number 2 on this list again is a series. It is one that took me by surprise. It is the 7 Realms series by Cinda Williams Chimes, and I've read books 1 to 4, which is the full series. It's a YA fantasy series that follows 2 main characters. I really wish I'd read this book like 10 years ago. I would have absolutely loved this book. I still really enjoyed it, which is why it's made this list, and maybe it's made this list as part of nostalgia, even though it was my first time reading it. But it has aspects of magic and fighting and assassins and queens and princesses. It has everything you possibly would like from a fantasy series, with a little bit of romance in there as well, and mystery, of course. I enjoyed all 4 of these books. They were wonderful, and I'm really glad I picked up this series. So, number 1 spot on this list probably goes to some books which are a bit left field. Not the author. The author is Brandon Sanderson again, but it actually doesn't go to one of his books. Instead, it goes to a collection of novellas which were written jointly by him and Patterson. They are Sunreach, Redawn, and Evershore. These are part of the Skyward series, which is a YA sci-fi series. If you are reading this Skyward series, which I really recommend, I 100% recommend picking up these novellas. They are amazing. They were my favorite books I read this year. So, that's it. My top 10 books for the year. Let me know if you have read any of these and what your top 10 books of the year were, and have a lovely day.